Priscilla Obasi is excited on this special day of Nigeria's democracy. For someone who has had the opportunity to cast her ballots a number of times, I didn't say you voted, but I said you had the opportunity. What you did with it is between you and your conscience. Yes, but I'm saying that it feels great knowing that we've seen a transition in our country since 1999, and the president, 27 years down the line, just reminded us a few minutes ago that, look, it may not all be rosy, we may not be where we ought to have been at this point in time. Yes, we may not have attained so much, but we have to be grateful for what we have done. And he also took out time to list some of the things that government under his administration has accomplished.
Well, I made up my mind that today was going to be an intentional day of reflection and positivity.
Okay.
Yes, because we've been in the books for some wrong reasons in recent times. And
right.
You want to look at today and say, oh, what is there to even celebrate? I mean, you know, it looks like it's not working. I mean, let's just get sad. Let's forget it. But we have to be intentional as Nigerians to understand where we're coming from, to know where we are, so that we can fix whatever the problem is, whatever the challenge is. So I really thought to reflect today, and I urge our viewers to do the same. I know Nigeria has not been in the best form in the last maybe 12 years. Yeah, but we can be positive, right? We can be deliberate about the stories, the lessons we learn from our mistakes. So let's use today to reflect on our history a bit. Let's use today to draw the lessons. Let's use today to strategize, to re-strategize about 2027 elections, because it's going to be another election cycle.
Of course.
To demonstrate, to prove our democracy again. So, dear Nigerians, I urge you today to be happy. Let's put on our thinking caps. Let's put on our reflection cap and make the most of today. But it's a beautiful day.
Obviously.
It's public holiday, and the town seems a bit scanty.
Right.
And Nigerians are, in their houses, celebrating or not celebrating. But I mean, the day has come.
It has, no doubt about that. So we'll be joined by two guests for the next stretch of 1 hour from this point on, who will be helping us to understand some of the highlights of what the president has just said. Both of them joining us virtually via Zoom from Nigeria Southeast, Imo State. One of them political analysts, and then, of course, the other an academic. The idea is for them to help us understand really how far we've come, what the real issues have been, the areas where we've been lying to ourselves and living in denial, and those other aspects where we've gotten it right as a nation for the most part. All right, we'll bring you all of those in a minute. Please do stay with us.
Be in vain. The federal
Television celebrated Nigerians more than a system of government. The power of the people's voice, the courage of those who fought for freedom, and the enduring hope of a nation united in purpose. As we mark this Democracy Day, let us reaffirm our commitment to the values that strengthen our nation: unity, participation, tolerance, and the respect for the rule of law. Stand with democracy, stand with progress, stand for Nigeria. Global Television wishes all Nigerians a happy Democracy Day.
All right, there you had it. The president spoke for about 23 minutes, but then, as brief as it was, at least relatively, it was loaded with so much of message. We're joined this morning by Chief Dr. Fidel Onineke, is a political analyst. He joins us virtually from Owerri in Imo State. Dr. Fidel, would like to say a big thank you to you for jumping on our conversation this morning.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being with you. Happy Democracy Day. My name is actually Chief Dr.
All right. Could you kindly confirm that you can hear us, please?
Yes. I hope you're hearing me very well.
All right. It appears we've not been able to establish audio with Dr. Fidel just yet. But the idea is to get him to talk to us about some of these issues. Of course, he also followed the speech this morning. I will let you know once we're able to connect with Dr. Fidel real quick. But the president mentioned, first of all, at the very start of it, he talked about those people who have contributed immensely to what we today know as democracy. He thanked them, called them by their names. He didn't also stop at that. He mentioned, those who paid the ultimate price for it. Talked about politicians, pro-democracy activists, of course, journalists, civil society, practitioners. It was almost like an endless list that I did call out. Dr. Fidel, if you can hear us, my question to you, again, good morning. My question to you would be, when you look at the speech of the president this morning, in light of this Democracy Day, what exactly would you say stood out for you?
Well, first of all, the president's speech, a very elaborate one, clearly shows that the president is appreciative of the fact that democracy is very, very important. And I'm not surprised because I know the role the president himself plays in ensuring that we enjoy good democratic system in this country. And now he started by enumerating most of the plans he has, especially policies of the government aimed at bringing succor to the problems and economic woes of Nigerians. Unfortunately and regrettably, Nigerians are interested in things that will give them benefit today and not things that will yield its benefits in the next 3, 4, 5 years. Considering what we have, the country is facing, economic problems, insecurity, and so on and so forth. But then the truth is that the president also showed that all those who made sure that we had democracy in this country were recognized. He listed many of them, and I'm happy that he was able to remember those in the media who played major roles. And he even went to the extent of mentioning some military people, military personnel, who also had interest in democracy, in spite of the fact that they belong to the military regime that even gave us draconian system. That shows that democracy has remained the in thing in this country. So I appreciate the president for that. And even naming an institute or institution which has been converted to a university, naming it after Yaradua. Also, another thing that is worthy of emulation and worthy of thanks. Let me say that the president gave credit to June 12 Moshood Abiola's election that has been rated as one of the best in the country. But unfortunately, our current politicians have not learned anything from what happened in June 12th. They are yet to learn from the principles of having free and fair elections. The president, yes, mentioned about INEC and other institutions doing the right thing, but what efforts has the current administration made to ensure that the right thing is done by these institutions, including INEC? So these are the things. One thing is for the president to give a speech. Another thing is for the president to ensure that those things he mentioned are really implemented.
The good thing and also the very interesting thing is a good number of those people the president mentioned are still alive today, some of them resident in the country. For instance, as a director is in Nigeria today, is the spokesperson for the NDC, one of the leading opposition political parties. Incidentally, it was on our program just about 3 nights ago, and he also talked about some of these issues going back into the 90s and what have you. When you look at those people the president mentioned, particularly the ones still alive, do you think they are impressed with where we are today as a country, as a democracy, given the very hefty sacrifices they had made some decades ago?
The funny aspect of it is that these people the president mentioned, especially those who are alive, it appears they are now dumb. They are no longer have that courage to speak out. If they played a role in ensuring that we have democracy, what efforts are they making today to ensure that the democratic principles are sustained? So that is lack of courage. Many of them are still in this government, and they are still playing part in governance. Yet Nigerians are not getting the dividends of democracy as expected. So they have to tell us why, or tell the world, convince us why they are not courageous enough to continue with the principles of democracy. Let me say one interesting thing that the president mentioned. He talked about his efforts to ensure that we have local government autonomy. A president of a country ensuring that we have autonomy in the local government areas, yet today nothing to show for it. So many things inhibiting the people at the grassroots level to get the dividends of democracy. So I expect the president and all those who are still alive today, who played their part, to be very, very active, to make Nigerians get the real benefit of democracy. Unfortunately, they are lacking that courage, and it is highly regrettable.
We've had uninterrupted 27 years of democratic elections. He also described it as peaceful. I don't know if that is the right term to use, but I mean, if you want to look at it if you want to see it, if you want to look at it logically or compare it to what we had in the military era, a lot of Nigerians are still of the opinion that, I think Nigeria needs to go back to that era. I think things worked better in that era compared to what we have right now in democracy. There are still people that lived in that era that feels, going back there would have not taken us or won't give us the problem we currently are facing now in Nigeria. But is that your opinion, sir? And do you really agree that at least we've made progress, since 1999 and up till date?
The truth must be said. Nigeria was better when we had the democratic system in 1999. Nigerians truly worked in unity and in unison to make sure that they received the dividends of democracy. And I'm not trying to give credit to the military regime because we are not going back to that system. Definitely, we always hear that the worst democratic system is better than whatever you think may be the best in terms of military regime. But the truth is that the democratic system gave Nigerians more prominence, more advantages, even during that military, than what we have today. Because since we are working where we had electricity was always there. President talked about electricity, his plan to improve electricity in this country, power sector in this country. But regrettably, all those things, Nigerians have not seen them. So they were even better during the military. During the military, security was there. Nigerians could go to bed and sleep with their two eyes. People were going to to their farms without harassment by any type of miscreant. Terrorism was not even mentioned, was not never witnessed in any part of the country during the military. But today, Nigerians are suffering all these things. So what has gotten wrong? It simply means that we have not really sustained our democratic system. And that is why some people might tell you that if they even lived a better life during the military than today. And it's not supposed to be so. So all those people who are interested in democracy, who play the part, including the president himself, must sit up, show much courage, and make sure that Nigerians get the dividends of democracy.
Democracy is of the people, for the people, by the people. And all of these years, people have come out to participate. People have been part of this process, including some of the leaders we have right now. Where do you think we got it wrong on the part of people like the citizens of Nigeria? Young people nowadays will come out to tell you our fathers did not try. They are the ones that have got us into this. And sometimes I want to look at it from the angle of maybe because of they were part of the people that experienced the transition of the military to the democratic era, and the consciousness of that military era where you practically could not really voice out. There was no freedom of speech as what we have now, could have affected them. But do you think it was part of it? Do you think our fathers, the elders, those that were present at that point of transition contributed to I don't want to call it decadence, but I see, as you have highlighted, it seems like we've not really gotten the dividend indeed of democracy. We are trying, yes, but we're not there yet. So do you think the followers, the ordinary Nigerians, those that were present at that point of transition, contributed in one way or the other to what we have right now?
Well, if we go back to when we had independence in this country, our founding fathers made sure that they did the best using democracy to improve the living standard of the people. And now in 1999, when we had this another dispensation in terms of democracy, those who fought the military, especially some of them whose names were mentioned by the president today, they also did well, laid a good foundation. But unfortunately, the present crop of politicians that we have, it appears they didn't learn anything from our forefathers. They are now interested in making sure that they acquire wealth. That selfless service, or services as the case may be, is no longer there. All those things that brought Nigerians together, that enhanced unity and peace and progress, they have jettisoned them. And then they're talking of tribalism, nepotism, and so on. So it simply means that our founding fathers and even those who started the democratic system in 1999 did not hand over appropriately the writing to the present crop of politicians. Unfortunately, again, even those who are alive today have not taught the current ones the correct thing. Because if they are doing the wrong thing, it is the responsibility of those who fought for democracy to call them to order. But they have this principle of if you can't beat them, you join them, and which is very, very wrong. And the good governance is a joint responsibility of both the government and the governed. So there's a very big lacuna, big gap between the government and the governed, because the leaders have not carried the lead along. And it has made Nigerians, especially those who are not in governance, not to have confidence in the government again. And no society, no country can develop under that type of situation. Unless the gap is bridged, then it means that we continue to have problems. Joint responsibility, which means that even as citizens, we have a role to play. But a situation where the citizens now feel that they are not being carried along, thinking that there are some people that the country is made for. I mean, such a situation does not augur well. After all, there is no one person that is called government. It is the joint responsibility of all of us. So if those in government carry those at the grassroots level, carry everybody along by providing the dividends of the democracy, water, electricity, security, food, making sure that there is rule of law, making sure that there is rule of law, making sure that the votes of the people count, making sure that when Nigerians complain, that their complaints are listened to. You will say that this country will be a better place for all of us to live in. But now, that unity, that unison, that synergy is not there, which simply means there is a very big lacuna, very big gap, and I blame both the government and the governed. But to bridge the gap, the government has a major role to play. Tell the people, feel the pulse of the people, assess their needs, and make sure that whatever the people want, that will make them have confidence in you, you will do it.
Local government autonomy. Local government autonomy is very crucial when it comes to delivering the dividends of democracy. All right, and Nigeria, of course, is one country that needs grassroots impact. The president did an amazing job in light of that landmark judgment from the Supreme Court. Yes, but like you also highlighted a while ago, not much has changed since that time. What more steps do you think? I mean, if you had a chance to maybe advise the federal government, perhaps the president as a person, what would you say we need to do more in that regard? Because as of today, we understand some governors are still having funds meant for local governments strung to their aprons. And if that's the case, it means the local governments are still being financially strangulated.
Let the truth be said. If the local governments are granted full financial autonomy, this country will change automatically. Now, the issue of market development in the rural areas, it will boost the economy. It is the responsibility of the local governments. Health centers, health facilities, provision of direct health facilities, it is the responsibility of the local governments. Grading of rural roads, even construction of rural roads that will enhance communication, evacuation of food items, and so on. It is the duty of the local governments. Sanitation, and so on, touching lives of the people. These are crucial responsibilities of the local governments. But the local governments can only do this when you give them all allocations, all the monies that are due to them to carry out these duties. How can the governors, how can some people, the states, be bigger than the president who has given a directive? It simply means that the very president does not have the courage for the implementation of a directive he has given. A situation where the federal government, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, promised that he will grant autonomy to the local governments, and up to today, it has not been carried out. It's either that the president lacks the courage, or he is afraid of somebody somewhere, or somebody is sabotaging him. If he's being sabotaged, he is in a position to handle such sabotage and deal with those that he's supposed to deal. So there must be sincerity in that promise. And I want to tell you that even security in the rural areas will become a thing of the past if the local governments are allowed to fund vigilante operatives, fund forest guards, fund certain people who are responsible for security in our rural areas. Traditional rulers, town unions, and so on, they can only perform very well if they get appropriate assistance from the local government areas. So by so doing, you see that Nigeria will change automatically. President must have that political will to carry out this type of instruction. Not a matter of saying that you have said it, but people see nothing on ground.
And I want to believe that it's one of the things that bring complexity to leadership in Nigeria. And I really don't feel like we've figured out how to really integrate, each other when it comes to at the national level. So we find ourselves still having, banters here and there. We're still experiencing tribalism in offices, even in the House of Representatives. People still complain, my region is neglected and all of that. 27 years into democracy, we're still having to figure out all of this. We're still having to talk about all of these things. Where exactly do you think we're getting it wrong?
Again, it's a very regrettable situation. One had expected that if you are at the leadership level, you must first of all see yourself as a Nigerian and not somebody who belongs to a particular religion, somebody who belongs to a particular tribe. We need national integration. Unfortunately, activities like use of National Youth Service Corps, posting of a federal character commission, federal character system, and so on, and so on, they have not yielded the expected results. We need to use advocacy. We used to engage the people, make Nigerians appreciate the fact that, first of all, we are Nigerians. Before you can count us as Yorubas, Igbos, Hausa, Fufude, or whatever tribe we find ourselves. And we got it wrong because those who led us in this country for some years now, in spite of the fact that we are under a democratic dispensation, they discriminated in appointments. It's not supposed to be so. I am not against quota system. I'm not against federal character. But if you feel, for instance, that a service chief from an Igbo land can do the work that a service chief from Yoruba land can do, or even from any part of the north, you appoint that person based on merit. You don't do appointments based on tribe. That's what we witnessed. During the Buhari administration, there was this cry that almost all the service chiefs are from one particular part of the country. And what do you expect? It simply means that once power shifts from that your place to another part of the country, that person will also try to appoint his people. When country develops under that type of leadership arrangement, it is when you see yourselves as members of one family and you put merit in whatever appointments you are given to people, no matter the position, then there will be balancing. Then people will also know that they belong. You must give everybody a sense of belonging. But once there is discrimination based on religion, based on tribe, based on man, no man, and so on and so forth, it means that we cannot get it right.
Kind of solve this problem. They come up with zoning
right.
and all of that.
And even micro-zoning.
Exactly, micro-zoning, just to structure it in a way that no human...
There's a bit of fairness and balance.
Do you think we should also integrate this into national appointments and all of that? Because whether we like it or not, we are sentimental human beings.
Right.
And you can have 10 people from your region or maybe different regions that can do that thing you can do. But as long as you come from a particular place in Nigeria, you will just want to tilt towards that person that you can closely see.
Your people.
Exactly, because they are first, they are your first contact, right? You don't have to keep, or you don't have to go far. You can see them, you know exactly where they are closest to you. So I really feel that if we have such a structure that political parties come up with to ensure fairness, if we can have it on in our national, integrated into our national appointments and all of that, there will be a bit of fairness to all of this. I don't know what you think, sir.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm not saying that somebody who doesn't merit a job also should be given, that such a job should be given the person based on because you want to balance anything. Merit should also be considered, but in considering merit too, you make sure that everything is not one-sided. Whoever you feel can do the right thing. Forget about where that person comes from. Allow that person to do that particular job. But we have sold into the minds, into the psyche of Nigerians that what we have today is the winner takes it all. If somebody comes from your tribe, it means that it is a blessing for your tribe. It is a blessing for your religion. If we are neutral in doing some of these things, applying meritocracy in whatever we are doing, you will see that all these bickerings, all these complaints, all this issue of marginalization will be highly minimized. And the truth is that it has even crept into our wards, our rural areas, our communities, our villages, local government areas, states, and so on. So we need to go back to the drawing board, find a way of making Nigerians appreciate the fact that wherever you are, you can work there. Time was in this country when, if you go and wait for youth service, you performed well in Sokoto, and probably you are from Osun State or Ogun State, you can be given an appointment and you can rise to the position of permanent secretary. Nobody will ask you whether you are from the north, whether you are from the west or not. But the important thing is that you are rendering the expected services. And if we don't take care, it will even get to the extent that in our marriages, intertribal marriages will become a taboo in this nation. I pray it wouldn't get to that. But the way we are talking of tribe, talking of religion, every leader will come and they will tell you that this is their turn. then the other group will come. They say, okay, this is our own turn now. I mean, such a thing must be fought and stopped. That is why we are having all these problems. We need full national integration.
You've done an amazing work with this analysis of the president's broadcast on this Democracy Day. Dr. Fidel Onineke, a political analyst, would like to say we're grateful to you for taking the time to join us on the program this morning.
Thank you very much. And like I said, my name is Onyeneke. And let me wish Nigerians a happy Democracy Day with the firm belief that things will improve. I thank all
break at this point coming up shortly. We'll be looking at the significance of this special day, and once again we'll be joined by Ikena Onoha. He's a senior lecturer in Imo State University. Please do stay with us.
Global television celebrates with Nigerians more than a system of government. The power of the people's voice, the courage of those who fought for freedom, and the enduring hope of a nation united in purpose. As we mark this Democracy Day, let us reaffirm our commitment to the values that strengthen our nation: unity, participation, tolerance, and the respect for the rule of law. Stand with democracy, stand with progress, stand for Nigeria. Global Television wishes all Nigerians a happy Democracy Day. Celebrates with Nigerians more than a system of government. The power of the people's voice, the courage of those who fought for freedom, and the enduring hope of a nation united in purpose. As we mark this Democracy Day, let us reaffirm our commitment to the values that strengthen our nation: unity, participation, tolerance, and the respect for the rule of law. Stand with democracy, stand with progress, stand for Nigeria. Global Television wishes all Nigerians a happy Democracy Day for Nigeria. Global Television wishes all Nigerians a happy Democracy Day.
Thank you for staying with us, everyone. As you can imagine, the papers will be sizzling today. You know, when you drop plantain slices in hot oil, you know that sound you get? That's how newspapers will be today. So we're going to bring you a couple of those big headlines just to embellish our conversation here on this special day for you. But we'll be joined shortly by a second guest to help us begin the part of our engagement today that has to do with the crux of the matter, that is the significance of June 12th. So we understand where we're coming from, and then, of course, where we're heading. They say we can't forget where we come from. You know, the president mentioned part two. Time didn't allow us to ask our guest a while ago about his thoughts in that regard. It appears we do not give the president enough credit for whatever it is he's achieved in the last 3 years. What do you think?
I don't understand. I say because
I said that in English.
Even if every Nigerian would not admit, at least he has loyalists that will continue to give him.
No, beyond his loyalists, for example, are we saying he has not made impact in certain areas? We may not agree on the scale of the impact, but there has been some impact. For example, he talked about the power issue, how that it has now been liberalized in such a way that states can generate their own power. Your home state of Abia, for instance, is doing that already under the leadership of Governor Oti.
I think what is missing right now is that ability, or the president going a step further to enforce things. I understand that it's a democratic era, but there's such a thing as having constant conversation with people you are working with. You cannot just give out some rule or pass some law and expect that people would act on it. We are human beings at the end of the day, so there needs to be a follow-up. There needs to be that system that ensures that everyone is checked, everyone is doing what they need to do. Because even though
you're talking about effective supervision,
effective supervision. He has brought a lot of wonderful, fantastic reforms, but the follow-up is a problem. We are coming from. Let us all agree that you inherited Nigeria in a very terrible state, and you are trying to do your best to fix it. You cannot expect that people that are with you, people that are used to the problem, will now all of a sudden become very up and doing because you are up and doing. Yeah, you have to wind some of them. You have to drag some of them. Again, it depends on the people that you brought into power with you. But he did not appoint governors. He did not appoint local government. They were all elected democratically. So it's not an issue of I brought this person into power and I can tell him what to do. No, the people that had the people, vote them into power. So you have to dialogue. You have to just look for a way to supervise and ensure that whatever it is you're trying to achieve is achieved at the end of the day.
Wonderfully said, Priscilla. We understand our second guest this morning is already joining us to look at the essence of Democracy Day in the first instance, 27 years and counting. How far have we come? We'll now go live over to Owerri, the capital of Imo State in Nigeria's southeast, to be joined by Dr. Ikenna Onuoha. Doc, we'd like to say a big thank you to you for joining us this morning. Your audio is muted. Would you be kind enough to unmute your audio so we can get to hear you? All right, great. Hopefully you heard what I said a while ago. So I'm just going to ask, basically, from your own assessment, from your standpoint, what would you say the essence of a day such as this is beyond the event of 1993? So we can't hear a word until you unmute your mic. Hopefully I think you need a minute to fix that while we continue to, expect that you join us as quickly as possible. But you need to unmute your mic for us to be able to hear you. So when you look at all of this, you talked about the president appointing the governors. The governors were obviously elected, just like the president was also elected, yes. When you look at all of that, what it tells you is the president may not have as much latitude or control as we would expect. For example, there are areas where it is the governor that they are 100% in charge. I'm sure that's where the idea behind the exclusive lists, the concurrent lists come to play, because when it comes to issues around, immigration, for example, it rests solely with the federal government, where you have the president as the superstructure, so to say. Even when you talk about security, national security in particular, it again rests with the president. But when you come to issues around the Land Use Act, who gives out land, who determines who gets what plot of piece of land, you can now start talking about the states, the governors, where the president would even have to formally request for a piece of plot to be able to maybe set up a structure for public use and things like that. But in all of this, people also say that the president has less excuses now, given that most of the governors at least over 30 of them are members of his party.
Exactly, and that is where I was actually coming from. Another thing is, Nigerians must also realize that these people are our employees. That's the reality. Until we know the power we have, we're not able to have a practically working democratic system. Because what we have right now, in all sense, in all reality, as in all honesty, it's theory. Yes, we exercise our franchise on maybe an elections day, but we do not understand that when it doesn't go the way we want, we can also voice out.
Right.
We do not understand when, these people that we even come together to say we want, when eventually they do not give us what we want, we have the right to say we don't want you employed anymore, because we are the employers, they are the servants. It's called public service for a reason. So we must understand the power we have, else we cannot call it democracy.
Right.
And the reason why a majority of us, keep crying is because we do not know. We don't even understand the power that lies, with us as citizens of Nigeria.
Right.
So we must play our own part. We must not. We will not fold our hands, or we will not continue to fold our hands and allow a set of elected people to fix it, and then we'll go blaming them and all. No, be a person that lends their voice. Be a person that can also mobilize, because you are a leader too. If you say you want to call these people out, it means that you know better. Do you get it?
Yes.
If you know better, you would act better. If you know better, you will strategize better. If you know better, you will bring out the results that will give us a better result. So until we are able to act better, we don't even have the right to call these people out.
Oh yeah, it's quite sad. Which means that followership must do the same thing that it expects from leaders, and that simply means that to whom much is given, much is expected. Besides, as they would say, the leaders are Nigerians; they were not imported. So, which means we must have made a series of choices that led us to where we are today. Exactly. Yes, we can argue back and forth and say, well, I didn't vote at the last election, or I didn't vote for this particular governor or for this particular president. Voting is a choice. Not voting is also a choice.
Exactly.
I think that's what we missed it. I remember when the Buhari era, as there was for 8 years, was on. In fact, for the first 3 years, as a matter of fact, there were people who were blaming those who voted for the APC, especially for the former president, Muhammadu Buhari. The idea was you were the one that brought us to where we are today.
Exactly.
I didn't vote. Thank God I didn't vote. What you don't realize is when you sound like that, you're being naive, you're disconnected from the system, and you are a part of the problem because you've made a choice by not voting. Exactly. It's like somebody saying that I realized that all my friends who graduated from university didn't get a job until after more than 5 years. Therefore, I decided I won't go to school. Now, you think that's a valid idea. You think it makes a lot of sense. In fact, you see a lot of logic in it. But what you've just done to yourself is I'm sure you cannot see past your nose. Because life is dynamic. The fact that somebody has not gotten a job even 10 years after graduation does not mean they will still not fulfill their goal in life or be able to hit their potential. It just simply means that there are temporary obstacles holding them back. And those obstacles are called temporary for a reason. It simply means that going into 2027, the citizens must think differently, especially the voting public or the electorate, as they are often called. Otherwise, we are going to continue to play blame game. And for all the countries that we admire, whether in Asia, in Europe, or in continental America, none of them got to where they are today because Priscilla was blaming Uyi and Uyi was blaming Priscilla. It simply means Priscilla made a choice. The kind of leadership she wanted. Uyi made a choice, the kind of leadership he wanted. So if we do not realize that, we're going to have many more issues to deal with than we are already encountering as it stands today. Let's take a quick break. We understand our guests will join us shortly. Do stay with us.
Global television celebrates with Nigerians more than a system of government. The power of the people's voice, the courage of those who fought for freedom, and the enduring hope of a nation united in purpose. As we mark this Democracy Day, let us reaffirm our commitment to the values that strengthen our nation: unity, participation, tolerance, and the respect for the rule of law. Stand with democracy, stand with progress, stand for Nigeria. Global Television wishes all Nigerians a happy Democracy Day.
All right, let's cross over to Owerri in Imo State now to join Dr. Ikena Onoha. He's a lecturer at Imo State University. Dr. Onoha, I would like to say a big thank you to you for, first of all, your patience, and then for making a decision to join us here on the program this morning. Let's get right to it because we are time constrained at this point. Talk to us quickly about what, by your own assessment, is the essence of a day such as this one.
Good morning, my anchor person. Happy Independent Day, Nigerians. Talking about the significance of June 12th, I want to specifically highlight three significance of this independence. Number one is the June 12th, allowed Nigerians to slightly conform to the global norm of democracy. And secondly, Nigeria became an encouragement for other countries in Africa in returning to democratic rules. And there is another serious point that mirrored the significance of returning to democracy, which is the third one. Nigerians were more enlightened to reject any government coming to power through military coup. And these three significance have convinced Nigerians to be bold whenever election is at the corner. And I think that is what democracy and this June 12th has brought to Nigeria. Thank you.
Here with me, together with whom we are anchoring this morning, we'll ask you a question shortly. But let me just quickly follow up with these as it stands right now. At the point we realized that the records are there, history was expunged from academic curriculum in Nigeria, right? Later we understand there was a policy reinstating it as a subject to be taught across schools, right? Do we have a history right today as a country? Because they say people who do not know where they're coming from are not likely going to have clarity as to where they are heading. Talk to us about Nigeria's history.
Yeah, actually, there was a time the history was distorted in Nigerian academic curriculum. Before then, some schools were teaching students telling them the experiences they had during the Civil War. And it looked as if that the experiences they were telling the students, influenced them negatively and thereby distorting the unity of the nation. But I want to tell you that any country that does not have a history will not be stabilized. Nigeria has a history, and there is no way you will talk about Nigerian history without tracing the annual June 12th election, which is today the Democracy Day. Nigeria has passed through rigorous processes of political turbulence, and it is quite unfortunate that from 1993 till today, Nigerian leaders are struggling to bring sanity to politics. That is why it looks as if that our country is not growing, and it looks as if that our children who are in school are not really learning anything that can influence them positively or impact them positively towards reviving and revamping the democratic system in Nigeria. However, my anchor person, June 12th has played major significant role, which I have actually mentioned in my introduction, and it brought awareness of the power of the people, the need for popular participation, the democracy, and the need for tolerance. If you look at the democracy today, tracing it back to 1993, the annulled June 12th election, you will discover that there is a little bit tolerance across tribes. But the problem we have today is when you put someone from another tribe to lead the nation, he will like to bring his people to take virtually all the prominent and sensitive positions in the nation. And this will not guarantee political stability It does not guarantee equity. It does not guarantee fairness. It does not guarantee unity that we have been clamoring for. If you are an Igbo man and you elected the president of Nigeria, you are not expected to give all sensitive positions to Igbo people. Because when you do that, it means that other tribes do not have qualified people to take over such positions. And it does not speak volume, for the, stabilization of peace and unity in the nation. So whenever such a thing happens, we are only calling for anarchy and crisis in the nation, and it has to be discouraged.
Lecturers as a whole play a very significant role in our democracy, in the sense that they are always part of the elections as returning officers and all of that. Let us assess the impacts. Let us assess their role so far. I don't know at what point they started playing this very effective role, but I have seen in the last cycle of 3 elections them actively involved. Now, do you think they have fairly, do you think we can credit credibility to the role that they have played? Do you think we can say that they have indeed been transparent, in their various assignments during election period?
Yes, what I'm going to say about is there is, if you bring 5 persons and you give this person 1 million, give this person 1 million, all of them want 1 million to invest. Out of the 5, not all of them will utilize the money judiciously. The issue of playing major role during election by lecturers, is an individual thing. If you send one lecturer to go and participate in one election and he disappoints you, does not mean that others will disappoint. After all, we have seen lecturers, professors in the universities who were assigned to play major part in the previous elections, and they performed creditably well, and they came out and people were applauding them. So only that one alone will tell you that is an individual thing. But the role of a lecturer during election is so prominent, and when you see a lecturer doing a different thing other than what he believes in, it does not encourage others to actually go into what he has done that is not good. It's an individual thing. So just like you are the anchor person, if you are asked to do something and you do it well, and you ask another person to do the same thing and the person does not do it well, what it means is that you are more enlightened in that area that you have been able to perform more than the other person who did not do it well. So it doesn't mean that that person is not actually good or that person is bad. But if you could give that person another assignment, it is quite sure that the person can perform well more than how you can perform when you are given such role. So it's an individual thing, and you can't, because of the fact that someone has done something that is not good and you are using it to judge everybody. No, it is not good judgment. So I want to say that the role of a lecturer during election is so important, but we should be able to remove our personal biases whenever we are confronted with national, services. Thank you.
Properly sensitized, because it looks like it's an angle that a lot of Nigerians have not focused on. And it is, as you have said, very important in the sense that they determine, almost determine the final results of elections. So do you think there should be some kind of sensitization towards that angle so that they know the importance? Because we've heard of issues of times and people or lecturers that compromise, and basically because no one is really looking towards that direction, it easily passes. Nobody talks about it, and then we just focus on politicians and rigging and all of that. So don't you think we need more sensitization if we really want to get it right? If we want to get our electoral processes right, we need to have this a level of sensitization, towards that angle?
Yes, there is need for sensitization and reorientation. Why do I say this? There are some, let me give you this instance. There are some journalists that you ask to, handle an occasion, an event for you, and their interest will be money. And there are some you ask to do something, and their interest will be based on professionalism. So, the idea of requesting brown envelope does not mean that that person is not a professional journalist. So what I am trying to say here is that there is need for sensitization and reorientation on the side of whoever that will be assigned to take up a national assignment, especially when election is close by. So if I am given an assignment as a lecturer to, undertake, I should be given an orientation. I should be given a terms of reference, so that if I go contrary to the terms of reference given to me, what it means is that I'm bringing my personal biases, and there is no way it will be in tandem with the directive given to me by the person who has hired me for such function. So there should be orientation, there should be sensitization. Because some people think that once you appoint them to undertake a particular national assignment, that is the only platform for them to make money. No, your image must be of essence to you more than the money that you are going to make. Because as a journalist, as a lecturer in the university, having attained to such height in the society, your image should be very, very important to you more than the money you are going to make. So once you are hired to, undertake any national assignment, you should be able to be guided by the ethical standard of such a function that has been given to you. So that is my position on this issue.
Of yours that you have shared with us on the program this morning, Dr. Ikenna Onoha, lecturer, Imo State University. I would wish you the best of this Democracy Day.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, let's take a break now, everyone. When we return, we'll look at a few headlines for you from today's national dailies, just to expand the perspective on this special coverage here on Global Television. We have several discussions still up ahead. Do stay with us.
Global Television celebrates with Nigerians more than a system of government. The power of the people's voice, the courage of those who fought for freedom, and the enduring hope of a nation united in purpose. As we mark this Democracy Day, let us reaffirm our commitment to the values that strengthen our nation: unity, participation, tolerance, and the respect for the rule of law. Stand with democracy, stand with progress, stand for Nigeria. Global Television wishes all Nigerians a happy Democracy Day.
Yeah, we're still celebrating democracy, but right now we turn straight to the newspaper review segment as we look up, what the headlines have for us today. Of course, we're expecting a lot of democratic talks, but let's start with the Punch newspaper. Besides the nameplate, it has Democracy Day address. Terror finances will pay terror
Financiers,
terror financiers will pay dearly, says Tinubu. You guys have been warned to not be caught. I'm sure a lot of Nigerians are looking forward to the payment that comes. Are they going to pay more ransom?
Those financing will pay. I think the president's point is very clear, but again, is the will and the intention behind it that are always the issues, right? Ordinarily, what the president is saying is straight to the point. He's saying that, look, you can't finance terror and expect that you will not suffer the same fate as those who are the foot soldiers.
So how about those who are the foot soldiers? What have they paid?
Well, I think they are paying in installments. We're seeing pockets of arrests here and there across the country. Maybe what we expect is a blanket end to it all. We're recording progress now, right?
We've not seen any of them persecuted. We have not seen.
But you saw Owo, for example. I mean, those who were behind the four of them.
What have they been? What have they done to them?
Well, they've been sentenced to death.
To death.
Yes, there were 5 of them that were arraigned in regards to the attack on the church in Owo in 2022. 4 years down the line. One of them got discharged and acquitted because prosecution could not establish a prima facie case against him. The other 4 were sentenced to death.
And then has it been?
Well, it lies with the governor of the state to do that, right?
So that's exactly what I'm saying. We've not seen.
So you would have thought by the next day execution would have happened.
Exactly. But right now it's still being negotiated or whatever.
But there are protocols for how you carry out such a court order. Besides, they have also appealed.
Exactly. So it's possible that they appeal and they are granted the appeal.
Maybe the judgment of the lower court is overturned.
Thank you.
So that's a fear.
There's every possibility that happens. So if we are saying terror financiers will pay dearly, we are saying we should say from the standpoint of, you see what these people have done, you see what we did to them, we'll do to you too. But we have not even seen what has been done to those that even carry out these acts. And they were saying those other guys that are sponsoring them. Anyways, well,
there's so much to talk about. Priscilla wants to see an end to this by midday today, but we do hope that's realistic enough. But let's take a quick break at this point, everyone. Like we mentioned at the top of the program this morning, we have quite a number of engagements lined up ahead for you. Do stay with us.
Global television celebrates with Nigerians more than a system of government. The power of the people's voice, the courage of those who fought for freedom, and the enduring hope of a nation united in purpose. As we mark this Democracy Day, let us reaffirm our commitment to the values that strengthen our nation: unity, participation, tolerance, and the respect for the rule of law. Stand with democracy, stand with progress, stand for Nigeria. Global Television wishes all Nigerians a happy Democracy Day.
thank you so very much, everyone, for staying with us here on this special coverage of the June 12 commemoration, 27 years down the line. Turns out for almost every time we have this conversation, the emphasis is on the men who are believed to have, as it were, made history, all right? Some of those protagonists, so to say, the president highlighted in the course of his 23-minute speech earlier this morning, part of which is forming the crux of our engagements on the program today. But let's turn our attention for a second to women and the role they've played in this entire movie, for want of better words. We're joined by no less a person than Judith Shuaibu. She's the National Welfare Officer, Social Democratic Party, that's the SDP. Thank you so very much, Judith, for coming on the program today.
Thank you very much for having me again.
Amazing. So let's talk about democracy and the role that women have played this far. I had the privilege of speaking with Alhaji Jamiu Biola yesterday, the son of the late Alhaji Kudirat Biola.
Oh, beautiful.
Yes, I did ask him a handful of questions as to the pivotal role his mom had played in all of this journey and what that means for Nigeria and indeed for democracy. When you look at where we are today as a democratic nation, even though there's still the debate whether or not we're democratic, do you think women have been able to leverage that event, the price she ultimately paid, the work she had put in, to help, as it were, expand the frontiers in terms of women participation?
Well, I would say that women desire to leverage that level of sacrifice that had been made and the groundwork that has been, laid all these years. But we wouldn't quite say that, democracy is as mature as it's supposed to be after 27 years in Nigeria. There's still call for, growth, evolution, and development in multiple sectors of the nation. Institution-wise, you would see that there's still need for integrity, for accountability. There's still need for us to be able to say, okay, we are developing. The single event of June 12, all those years back, has laid a pedestal to say that it takes quite an immense level of intentionality, both from men and women, to make democracy work in the essence of what it's supposed to be.
Right.
However, we need to, in modern day, appreciate that, build on that, and absolutely develop even from there. So we would not say that women have exactly leveraged 100%, but we will say that the women desire to, and there's need to be able to strategize and approach the conversation from multiple angles, because it's not a conversation we can let go. It's not something that we can do without as a nation.
Okay, Priscilla is eager to jump in. Let's have your day.
Okay, I just wanted to highlight, we had this Zainab Bubakaladima join us on Monday to have this conversation, and one of the questions I threw to her is what I want to ask you now. Do you think we have past heroes, women, heroines, in the sense that are celebrated as, the fathers, our fathers, our democratic fathers, and those that fought for Nigeria? Do you think we celebrate them as much as we, celebrate these men, or do you think we? I think on my question.
We can celebrate more in earnest, because there are people that have made sacrifices, like MK Abiola's wife, case in point, I'm not sure that she's probably celebrated enough, or that the highlight is enough. You can check the generations, Gen Alpha child, and ask him, who is that person? The person probably doesn't know, which means that we didn't even factor that, with intentionality in our histories, and we could definitely do that. There are a number of other women who have done their bid to contribute into society and national democracy, that we need to be able to capture that. And the reason why capturing historical facts is very important, and projection of it, not just having it somewhere in the archive, is because it helps pass down the authentic fabric of what national, substance should be. And so for us to be able to do that effectively, it means that we cannot neglect the place of the people who have laid the background, people who have made sacrifices, and in this case, like you're asking, women. So women can definitely be celebrated more, more women who have contributed to national development.
We have daring women that, put their all in the line in an era where women were not, given a voice as much as we have now. But we still saw women make a difference. We see so a lot of women make that change. Do we have such women in our generation today?
Oh, absolutely, we do. We have a number of them. We can have more, but we do have a number of them. I mean, we still have, a bit of feminine representation in the National Assembly, taking care of legislative functions. And then we have them all over the world in several parastatals. And frankly, what the tenets of democracy cannot just be labeled to just either executive function or legislative function. So we have them in the judiciary as well, So we have such women right now. And for me, I don't think that I exactly want to say, oh, it's this person and that person and that person, for political reasons, but there are quite a number of them. We have even seen people go beyond the spectrum of politics to still push for these things as far as activism is concerned and all of that. So we do have many such women like that in this generation. Of course, there are popular ones that everybody knows, the Natashas and Cole and all of that.
I think it's the only one that strikes the chord, because if you look at the era we're in right now, I think we may have more liberty than what we used to have before. We're in such an era where, there's the he for she, there are bids for special seats, the voice is loud, people are clamoring for the change indeed, so that we'll have women integrated. But we expect that, I would expect that we'd see, more women would call heroines. But I think we just have a handpick of them. Is it because maybe we're still trying to understand the political terrain? Is it because we're getting it wrong democratically? Or is it because, I don't know, we're still having this fear, as women, to put our hands? Is it because we're still being constrained by family, family matters and all of that? So why are we not seeing the multiplicity of women, as much as we're clamoring for, women involvement and all, and there is every law that is even pushing towards this?
Well, the thing is, the very amazing and phenomenal thing about Nigeria is that we are very excellent in having certain conversations for a time. But you see, implementation is always a challenge in terms of the real context of really weaving policies into existence. So that's part of the challenge. Of course, some of the challenges you highlighted are there, but I can assure you, women have really evolved and, have together their affairs. That family is really not the biggest challenge. Per se. Of course, there's culture, there's this, there's that undertone in Nigeria, because that's like the fabric of how we're woven. We interweave culture into a lot of things. There is a bit of that, but that's not the major challenge. It's all these other factors that you have highlighted, including the fact that, of course, the popular system is stifled and all of this and all of that. But I don't really believe that it's just about all the negativity that is surrounding women involvement, or all the processes that really stifle involvement, even when women are willing to get involved. Of course, we can have more women who are more informed. We can have more women who are more learned, who actually understand the territory, not just desire, because it's one thing to desire to be functional, it's another thing to really know how to function, or to even understand where you want to function. So, of course, we can have more women who understand policies, who understand politics, who understand governing, who understand democracy, who understand how to get involved in execution spaces. Yes, we can have that. But another thing is the nation in itself at this point of democracy really needs to be able to sit down and implement and effect policies that it is making. Don't just discuss about laws. Can you actually translate legislative function so that we can see it reflect in maturity of democracy? Because if you're saying, let's get more women involved, but we're still having conversations around, should it be 2%, should it be 3%, should it be 70%, should it be 35% affirmative action? That is not exactly inclusivity. So the nation in itself needs to really understand the dividends of prioritizing inclusion in the real sense of it, because you cannot have a nation at the peak of its development without having, the vital points, the vital aspects of the nation. So you need men, you need women, you need young people, because all of this come together and weave a fabric that can now foster actual development. So this is an institutional challenge, much more than just what women face on a day-to-day basis in terms of whether they have resources or don't have resources, and all of these other challenges that have been highlighted over the years.
You know, when we talk about women's involvement, I think we tend to focus most times on politics and what policies we're driving, right? But let's look at other areas of society. Look at tech. Look at, how many innovators do we have as women? How many women are really, doing exploit? How many women are creating?
Breaking new grounds in health and education.
Exactly, across all the sectors of the economy and the society. So it doesn't look as if we're trying to fight for people that are not ready. Yeah. We're trying to give them an opportunity that when they eventually get there,
the bumblings.
Exactly, we're helping them to think, we're helping them to begin the struggle. So can we also channel this energy to women in other sectors, women in other spaces, of our society? Is there such a thing? Do we have women that are breaking ground?
Oh, absolutely. We have a ton of women in Nigeria that are breaking ground in several sectors. I think the sector that, I think why the emphasis looks like it's a lot more in politics, because that's where you have the least involvement. Because, you're talking about tech. Have you seen, multiple generations of women? That's what's amazing about that. If you look at several industries, look at banking, how many women are literally CEOs of banks right now? Do you have quite the number of them? Women are breaking ground. Women are making history. Women are changing the trajectory of what, the pattern has been over the years. We're also seeing women occupying, several offices and developing things and inventing things as well in this age, in this generation. And like I said, what is very beautiful about that is that we have such women in multiple categories. We're seeing women in their 50s, we're seeing women in their 60s, we're seeing women in the Okonjos are still existing, Iwelas. We're seeing much younger women who are even down to, the Gen Z generation who are still existing and doing things within the nation. So it's really about being able to realize that the work is being put in and that, the friction is on, but can the system lubricate itself enough to actually make this prominent? Can we now make the friction, can we lubricate the friction enough to now make the territory accommodating to be able to reap the dividends of having these women who have arisen in this generation pushing to see that, okay, we can do this. This is how we're doing it. We're bringing intuition into it. We're bringing, a different approach and a different angle into it. We're interpreting these things differently across different sectors. So, of course, we do have many women breaking grounds.
I want to talk about internal politics, or if you like, politicking, right? A while ago, it was Natasha Potioduaga, right? There were women who said, look, she didn't get as much support as she ought to have enjoyed from women, whether within the Senate or outside of it. And then after, of course, we saw Rete Kingebe, again, a distinguished senator who has also had a back and forth within the Labour Party. At the point we heard she was suspended from the ward level. That became controversial, debates around it. The most recent, perhaps, is Aisha Yusufu, who has also now started having her own bad blood, for want of better words, with the leadership of the NDC. And people say that's coming too early. It appears there are two sides to a coin regarding this particular conversation, because on the one hand, they say, this lady, with all due respect, no prejudice against the work she's done so far, has not been able to, as it were, translate from being a social media figure, I use that advisedly, to becoming a political influence. So she still doesn't understand the terrain, they say. How much of challenge do women have to deal with within the leadership ranks of political parties, and is there light at the end of the tunnel?
There is light at the end of the tunnel, just because we've seen nations. Because I think that one of the things that you can use to draw and judge whether or not it is possible for something to happen is to be able to check and see, is it even happening anywhere at all? Of course, it doesn't mean that what hasn't happened or can't happen. It can happen. There is light at the end of the tunnel, but we can't shy away from the fact that institutions, again, still don't recognize the value of inclusivity. We say it, we sing it, but it's really not affected in terms of practical terms. Women are seeing quite the challenge within political spaces, within political parties, like you're asking. It's about, okay, can you get in the door? Okay, fine, yes, let's open the door for a number of you to come in. But even when you do come in, it's a whole different ballgame whether or not you can actually stay on the table you're sitting, whether your input will be valued, whether your voice will be heard, whether conversations you're making inputs to will be taken seriously, whether there'll be implementation to the ideas you're contributing on the table. But again, that is something that is a two-way street, right? First is the part where women have to come with actual strategy and tenacity.
Do they have that already, substantially?
We do have women who have substance, but we can have more women who have substance. We have a lot of women, but do we have as many women who have substance? Yes, but are they interested? A number of them are. Can we have more? We should have more. But the system in itself has to evolve and recognize further than just speaking the importance of inclusivity in the real essence of it. But women really, like Priscilla has, had highlighted, it's really important that women also understand what territory are you walking into. I would thoroughly recommend, in my experience, having been in the political party over the years now, is that first of all, you must move past desire. Desire won't cut it, emotions won't cut it. The regular things that people run to be able to run any cause can't be your everyday fabric. It's sad, but it's the reality. And while it is sad, we can't dwell on the fact that it's sad. We have to deal with what's on the table and figure out how to navigate it. That's another thing that women really need to be able to look at. Okay, do I understand where I'm walking into? Do I understand where I'm going? What is the most strategic move to make in this time and season? Because what applied to 2023 is definitely not applying in 2026 and will most certainly not apply in 2027. Of course, 2031 is a different ballgame altogether. So women need to be able to understand that they have to move with strategy. The reason you must move with strategy is because the odds are not exactly lined up in your favor up till now, sadly. So what do you do with that? You have to develop strategy. It's that, okay, I understand that the challenges are there, but how do I navigate these waters? If I'm going to move from any sector to political sector, for example, is it the same, do the same rules apply? If it's not the same rules that apply, do I want to move with affiliation with somebody, or do I want to just glean on somebody who has maybe a certain level of experience based on what I want to create, and then see how I can learn from them? Because we must move past the desire, and I think that that's what women need to be able to embrace.
You're a member of a party that's directly associated with June 12th. That's interesting. More than a coincidence that you're here on the program this morning. We've talked about the late Chief MKO Abiola. We've talked about the legacy. We've talked about his impact and how that till today we look over our shoulders. We can't stop talking about him on account of what he represents. And then you look at the SDP of today vis-a-vis the SDP of more than 3 decades ago. Of course, we have the likes of amazing Prince Adebayo. We have a few other gentlemen and ladies who are doing an amazing work within your party. But I want to talk about you for a minute, right? What would have thought someone like you should be in the ruling party for whatever reason, for whatever it's worth? But then for reasons best known to you, you've been able to pitch your tent with the SDP. Would you say that choice is strategic, it's on account of ideology, or was it just a matter of, let's see where this goes, but let's start from here?
You can't, as a female, dive into politics except you're ignorant and see how it goes. You have to be very intentional and deliberate about where you go, because the game is hostile enough to really roast you if you're not careful. And so you can't afford to, make that decision lightly or move recklessly.
So it was never random?
So it wasn't random. It wasn't random. Of course, there is a place of, it's first for me conviction, of course, there's ideology. At the time I like the history of the party, and then I was also looking forward to, I have these ideas, I have this strategy, I've studied this game over the years, and my personal decision is to be able to contribute to my nation in terms of producing the process that actually brings forth candidates that eventually represent the nation. That's where I thought I should begin. Because if you don't understand the basics, it's difficult for you to then be able to understand the public figure office, right, where the highlight is. And so for me, the behind the scene lets me be part of the production process for several reasons. Learning is one of them, when I started. And I thought about a platform that would give the opportunity for me to be able to achieve the reasons that I joined in the first place, why I thought about being a part of political processes in the first place. And the SDP at the time represented that. Now, whether the SDP will continue to be the platform that would represent that is a subject of conversation, because like I said, a couple of minutes ago, what works for a season might not work for all seasons.
Right.
So there is a time that the SDP has served me in terms of how I wanted to interpret how I'm contributing to this nation. Would that be what I would sustain throughout my career? May not necessarily be the case, because things evolve, things change, we advance, and then there are levels you operate at some point that either ideologies either shift, or you basically look for, or you basically find other modalities of expression in terms of how we want to serve the nation. Now that would be a continuous developing and evolving strategy for me. But as of right now, the SDP has been the platform serving that purpose for me.
Okay, so when we talk about democracy, of course, we cannot but focus to an extent on our politicians. Yeah. And you have highlighted that the SDP, which you're currently in, may not serve it for you, depending on the season you eventually go into. But we have politicians now that are very quick to defect, go from one party to another, and it's becoming a culture right now in the political space. Do you think this is going to degrade democracy even forward? Because we have all agreed that we are not yet there. We have not reaped yet the dividend of democracy. So we're still trying to enjoy it. We're still trying to build, right? But this habit of constant defection, does it in any way affect it more?
Well, you need to understand that defection happens sometimes for multiple reasons, and really, it's less about just moving from one place to another as it is about what is practical depending on the time again and season. Reason is because you have to understand that first, Nigeria still suffers institutional decay on multiple levels, and the political parties are not exempted. So sometimes, it's political parties is like a house that just accommodates so many people. And at some point, maybe the room is full. At some point, maybe there's no electricity. Maybe power's running short. Several challenges come up. And as an individual, right, that is seeking to be able to contribute to national development, contribute to development of democracy, and then serve the people of Nigeria, people have to always sit down and be able to evaluate, okay, so is this serving this at this point? Of course, there are people who are very flippant about it, people who are probably almost borderline reckless about it, but the majority is really about the institutional challenges that keep persisting. And sometimes when there is an institutional decay or there are challenges within an institution that would not foster the aspirations of an individual or the way that they intend to contribute to the fabric of national development, they have to be able to seek an alternative or a platform that can actually accommodate that. Just because at some point, so it's about, most times it's really about the institution in itself. There are a few people who can do better, but the institution in itself needs working. Most political parties themselves need a reformation to begin with, to even be able to produce better people, to be able to accommodate better people. The question begins to become, do political parties really hold on to their own ideology even? Who maintains it, who follows that through, who's the custodian of that, do they stick by it? So if you don't do all of those things and we have all those challenges existing, it is almost inevitable that at some point strategies will change and you'll have to see people aligning and realigning. It's almost like part of the rules of how the political territory is as of now. We hope that it gets better though. You know, that we can have a political party that would spring up, or we can have an existing political party that will wake up to the real essence of what political parties should represent. Maybe at that point, we can now see people who are spending 20, 30 years or the course of their political career in one political party. So that's a conversation that we also need to project, and thank God we're beginning to have it now, because it's not a conversation that has been had, but that's really a conversation that needs to be had. It's not just about the administration and the ruling governments, really. It's about the processes, and political parties are part of it. So we need to reform that too.
Talking about the processes, democratic processes, we've started already. We're having, elections in 2027, and we've started to have, I think we've completed primaries across
the parties.
most parties. So we can
with a bunch of mitigations.
Exactly. We can clearly say the democratic process has started for the 2027 cycle. What do you foresee at the end of 2027? What do you foresee about the whole processes? Do you think we'll go a step further? Do you think we'll be able to add one star to a democratic name?
I do believe that the outcome of 2027 is heavily dependent on Nigerians. And that sounds like a very, a frictional statement to make, just because, can the government do better? Can this do better? Absolutely. But the outcome of 2027 election, I emphatically really believe and say that it has to do with Nigerians. Because you see, the role of citizen is something that is overlooked, it's something that is taken as an oversight. But the role of citizen is literally an office, that needs to be taken with utmost seriously and, the most important responsibility, because we really still have the power if people can actually realize that it exists. Because you're seeing, of course, we have the challenges where, we're saying people need to be able to vote. You need to be able to decide who do you want to be where, how, when. That power is still a superpower that Nigerians have not fully awakened to. And that is something that we have to look at, because if the system is faulty, okay, great. If we need better leadership, okay, agreed. If governance can get better, okay, agreed. But how do we get it done? Because we have the same players, we're recycling players. What do we do? It lies on the people. If you have over 90 million people in registered voters in 2023, and then you're having 20-something registered voters, really voting as far as what we've seen in some total, meaning that some over 70 million have decided that, my vote doesn't count, I'm not going to bother. But you have to bother. Because at some point you have to realize that, okay, this is our country. There is no savior, there's no messiah coming from anywhere. We have to take the responsibility of saying, we're going to keep pushing back. It's a frictional point, but it has to continue, it has to go on. Because there's a way that Nigerians can actually turn out, vote en masse, protect their votes, and realize that, the numbers are overwhelming. Because what can you do with 70 million people? What can you do with 100 million people? You know what I'm saying? So no matter how the institutions need elevating, we need progress in that regard. If people take their power by the hand, it would greatly determine what we are going to see in 2027. It can't be business as usual. It can't be the same story that we've been telling all over and and over again. So Nigerians have to take their country back, basically.
Interesting. What a way to put it. But as we begin to tie it up now, right? Let's talk about the electioneering year that's apparently upon us, right? We know INEC may not have raised the flag just yet in terms of official campaigning season and all that, but the activities are quite glaring as it stands right now. What's your candid assessment of the role women are playing at this point in time? We see the men already apparently throwing their hats in the ring, so to say. Are women doing the same, or are they just tagging along as we've seen the last 2+ decades?
Okay, well, it's multiple fold. There are women who are, as a matter of fact, especially women who are already within this space, are really making moves, are really trying. I've seen quite a number of women across political parties trying to, get through primaries, become candidates. I've seen quite a number of women express their aspirations. We've not seen we've not seen many of them scale aspiration stage, but those that are within the political space already, those in legislature and otherwise, we see them really pushing the gun and trying to see what they can do. Whether or not that is going to make a difference is, again, a power that lies with Nigerians going forward.
INEC has been in the eye of the storm, as always, again, in light of 2027. As a politician and as a member of a frontline political party, what are your thoughts in that regard?
You know, I've always said that one of the most critical strategies that Nigerians need to embrace, especially, you know, with awareness to how much more people need to be involved in political processes, is the fact that we don't just need people who would enter executive offices or legislature. We need more people who will be deliberate about the judiciary. We need more people who will be deliberate about other institutions, and INEC is one of them. Because when you look at it, it just looks like the spotlight is always on the position of who becomes the national chairman of the National Independent Electoral Commission. And that's where the conversation stops. But who are the people that make up the commission, really? Who are the people there? That has been one strategic area that, for me, I've been advocating, that Nigerians need to be able to take responsibility for and rise up to, past spectatorship. Don't just debate about who is becoming the chairman and who the commander-in-chief of whichever administration is nominating or not nominating. We need to be able to push for, okay, we need to see better in INEC. The truth is, yes, Nigerians may not have as much faith in the institution in itself. But okay, can we get past that then? So really, I would say that what we need to be able to see is that institutions like that need to be occupied by people who actually understand the assignment and have the zeal within them to see that the nation is better and that processes that produce governance is really better. We need to have more people occupy institutions like that. I do believe that going forward, that is what we need to be able to start diverting our attention to. It's very important. Who becomes the national commissioner? All the national commissioners. Right. Who are the people that are occupying the positions? Who are the people advising the national chairman? Who becomes the national chairman? What is the process that produces people, that produces all of that? So if we have that, perhaps we have a shot at seeing a very different INEC.
I want to be a bit more, pointed about this. Are you comfortable with the idea? I mean, of course, that's a constitutional arrangement that the president is the one who appoints the chairman of the commission. Do you think that should change?
I do believe that it should. I do believe it should. The reason is because, not for any reason, so perhaps whoever becomes the commander-in-chief is, or the leader of a nation, you know, may not even be biased. But who would believe that? Because if I have the discretion of putting somebody whom I know at the end will be useful for me, it's difficult to really dissociate from bias.
So there's conflict of interest.
So yeah, there is likely to be conflict of interest. And frankly, the people of the nation may not really, you know, agree or accept that that is an unbiased process, just because interest is vested. So I would recommend really that the simple way to really address and put the situation to bed is to have a neutral process, an open process that produces who sits there. Maybe if Nigerians have a stake in who sits there, or certain relevant institutions have a stake in who sits there, it would look more, not just look, it would carry more the representation and the interest of serving the people, the nation, than a particular person or a particular political party or any of such things as we've seen in conversations and arguments, you know, moving forward. So I do believe that that's something that needs to be looked at, and that's something Nigeria needs to be able to achieve as a milestone.
I was going to recommend the EFCC, but I mean, they're still not to be trusted by a lot of Nigerians, so I'm just trying to wrap my head around an institution we can clearly say or can boldly vouch for to say, please help us pick an INEC person. Right. But away from that, 2027 is here, and afterwards we're going to have another cycle of elections that goes by. We have men that are already planning for elections after 2027.
Yes.
They are strategizing. A lot of our politicians now, talking about male politicians, are not even looking at 2027. Whatever it is they are permutating is towards, you know,
2031.
2031. Do you think we have intentional women as such too? Or do we just tag along, as we said? Do we just respond? Do we just react? Are we really foresighted enough to take power?
Well, some of us are, I would say, because I'm definitely one of such people that, I do believe that.
What's the majority?
You have to look at, well, the majority, we wouldn't say what the number is except we conduct a poll, obviously, but it would be erroneous to lose sight of the bigger picture every time you're playing a game of politics or when you are interested in national development. You have to always look at the years ahead. I've always said that one of the strategies that women need to be able to adopt is how to play the long game as well. You can't just live for the moment. You can't be reactionary. You have to be strategic. That's what I've been saying. And part of the strategy is that you have to play the long game. Okay, so you want to participate, you want to be in so office or that office or that office or serve in this capacity or that in 2027, but you have to be able to look at 2031. Right. And even beyond that too, but it is very important that part of the strategy is more women develop, because there are women who really are working towards that, but part of the strategies that more Nigerian women need to develop is playing the long game. Can you plan ahead? Can you put steps? That even helps you make informed choices in terms of what political party do I need to be in? Who do I need to align with? Who do I need to work with? Because, of course, it's not a lone game, right? Who do I need to work with? Who do I need to learn with? Who do I need to lean on? Who do I need to, all of those kinds of things. So when you project like that and see the entire board, it then becomes easier for you to move your chess pieces. But if you can't see the board, it's difficult for you to move your chess pieces. So that is definitely a strategy that more Nigerian women can adopt and develop, much more than the number of people who are already using that strategy right now.
In 1 minute, do you think we're pushing our electoral process enough with data? It doesn't appear we're using much of data in this regard. In terms of looking at numbers, for example, what was the number we recorded in terms of voter turnout in 2007, and then you juxtapose that against 2015 and every 4-year cycle up to 2023. Do you think we do that enough, or we just, with due respect, mentally lazy to use that approach?
So also factor in how many women have participated.
For instance, right?
Yeah, well, I do think that we play around with it a little bit, just like we do most things. We can be more intentional about that as a nation, as a people. We can be more intentional about that. We can be more intentional about our record keeping, about our data, about our statistics. We can be more intentional because, like I said, if you do not have a fabric you're drawing from, it's difficult for you to develop a new strategy when you're trying to achieve something new. Right. So that is definitely something that Nigerians need to be able to prioritize. What is the data? But that's something that we also need a reformed institution that will take it seriously. Or take it beyond census. Even census is not as functional as it's supposed to be. So we have to be able to develop an institution that can handle that, be sophisticated enough to be able to do that, because we're quite over 200 million people. That's quite a lot. So we need to be able to do that. It's part of the accountability and transparency process that we're talking about has to be woven into the fabric of our nation in terms of its developmental phase and processes. It's very, very important. And part of that accountability is for us to be able to, how is our data coming along? What's the statistics? What's it saying? Is it credible? Can we trust it? So these are things that we also need to be able to really spread our tentacles as a people when we're clamoring for change, when we're clamoring for information, when we're clamoring for better governance. We need to be able to request and demand that such institutions are established and then implemented, and then that there's a follow through on how, execution processes move along. But this is a very valuable part of national development.
Do you think we became a democratic nation too early?
I wouldn't say too early, and even if we did, assuming we did too early, 27 years is a lot of time to have recourse, because, when a child is given birth to, 27 years is quite enough for some people to have had children and given birth right now. So it's quite a time to have reformed and evolved, So it's not even about when we started. It's about where are we and what do we need to do and where do we need to go from here. That's where the conversation really is.
Looks like a long night ahead of us. But we'd like to say a big thank you to you for coming to talk to us today on the program. Judith Shuaibu is the National Welfare Officer for the Social Democratic Party. As always, she has shared very valuable thoughts in this regard on this special day, Democracy Day in Nigeria. We're taking a quick break, everyone. When we return, we'll be engaging a man who was on the ground covering the June 12, 1993 election to help us find, again, more perspectives in this regard. Do stay with us.
Global television celebrates with Nigerians more than a system of government. The power of the people's voice, the courage of those who fought for freedom, and the enduring hope of a nation united in purpose. As we mark this Democracy Day, let us reaffirm our commitment to the values that strengthen our nation: unity, participation, tolerance, and the respect for the rule of law. Stand with democracy, stand with progress, stand for Nigeria. Global Television wishes all Nigerians a happy Democracy Day.
Change is possible. Peace is possible. Let us all live in peace. Stop the killing. I remember them days when I was a kid. I remember them days when it was so peaceful. How Abdullahi used to be my friend. How Kelechi and Tokumbo all used to be my friends. Back then there was so much progress, unity, one love. Somebody take me back. Change is possible. Peace is possible. Change is possible. Peace is possible. Change is possible. Change is possible. Peace is possible. Peace is possible. Change is possible. Stop the killing. Peace is possible. But nowadays, I can understand what's going on. Bauchi, Kaduna, Maiduguri, I can justify just. Una just there for just the looting, the killing and stealing, destroying in the name of politics, religion. How long? Somebody take me back, take me back, take me back, take me back, take me back to them days when Abdullah used to be my friend. Change is possible. Peace is possible. Yes. Yes, change is possible. Yes. Peace is possible. Yes. Change is possible. Change is possible. Peace is possible. Peace is possible. Change is possible. Forgive. Peace is possible. Menene, I'm finding rayuwa. Menene, I'm finding rayuwa. Ita muna zama da tsoro a cikinmu. Idan muna karkashe junanmu, ko dan siyasa, ko dan addini, mu talakawa ne ake kashe mu. A zuga mu, a ruɗe mu, a tura mu mu yi ta faɗa, mu karkashe junanmu, mu karkashe matanmu, a karkashe yaranmu, a karkashe yaranmu. To Allah tare. Allah sarki. as one nation, as one country. For change is possible, and peace is possible. Stop the fighting. Let us stop the fighting. Stop the killings. People are dying. People are dying. People are dying. People are dying. People are dying.
Global television celebrates with Nigerians more than a system of government. The power of the people's voice, the courage of those who fought for freedom, and the enduring hope of a nation united in purpose. As we mark this Democracy Day, let us reaffirm our commitment to the values that strengthen our nation: unity, participation, tolerance, and the respect for the rule of law. Stand with democracy, stand with progress, stand for Nigeria. Global Television wishes all Nigerians a happy democracy.
Thank you for staying with us, everyone. Let's dig further into the essence of this June 12 Democracy Day commemoration. We're joined by someone who we can say was a frontline witness to some of the events marking the reason we are all commemorating today. Ben Adam Shemang is a security expert who also covered the June 12, 1993 election. So we are in safe hands to say that we are being joined by a long-standing veteran journalist. So thank you so much, Ben, for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Priscilla Obasi, my colleague, and I, we've been looking forward to this conversation, really, because you are not just a Nigerian who is interested in this development. You were on the ground witnessing its front row seats, as they say. Talk to us, 33 years down the line, as a younger man, as there was, what would you say were some of the lessons we can apply to our current situation as a country?
Yeah, on a positive note, let me start by saying that MKO Abiola was a Muslim. Kingibe, Baba Gana Kingibe, was a Muslim. That never meant anything to Nigeria, our Nigerians. People just felt they needed a change, they needed people who will give the Nigerians what is today known as dividends of democracy.
Right.
You know. But today you can see that line of divide. A divide according to religion, a divide according to regions, a divide according to some beliefs. Do I call them some cliques now?
Right.
Who will want to join form some bodies to see how they can run down Nigeria, so to speak. So June 12 was a kind of a unifying factor that actually saw the Nigerian in us, because you could also see that a southerner, southwest, going to pick his running mate in northeastern part of Nigeria, Maiduguri. Then you also had Bashir Tofa from Kano, north, going to pick Sylvester Ugu from the southeast. You know, it was a big political struggle that was so positive. Unfortunately, this team went down when in the end that election was annulled. It was not easy, and I remember covering that election in Abeokuta. I covered June 12 in Abeokuta, and my director of news then was Tunji Oseni, of blessed memory. He ended up being the spokesman for OPEC, and later on President Obasanjo's spokesman here in the State House. So these were people who will cook you so much. Mohammed Okorojo, Yaya Abubakar, Ben Ebuna. So these were people who gave us the rudiment. Even though it was a rough terrain, but we were able to scale through, the hot spots when June 12 became June 12, Oshodi area, Ikeja, talking about even CMS, Butameta. These were places where mile 12, mile 2, Ikorodu, these were spots that were always very, very hot when the demand for that, as it was said, on June 12th, we stand that mandate, you know. And so at the point we were also sent to cover those events. I was defense and crime correspondent that time, attached to the police, attached to the military, you know. Even though at the point I got beaten by the police because I think I was pushed down, 3 ID cards fell down, all belonging to me. Then I became a suspect.
Right.
How was it? I had a Voice of Nigeria ID card. Covering military, the military gave me an ID card. Covering the police gave me an ID card, all bearing my name, but police gave me some thorough beating because my identity was in doubt, you know. But that was when you are a field officer. But again, coming back to June 12th, what really we are missing, that integration that we saw, all the Zunginas that were from Adamawa, you see them working closely with Abiola. You see people from the Igbo side working closely with Abiola. Because if you realize the way, I'm sorry to say, Yoruba Igbo politics, they tend to be strange bedfellows, truly, you know. And incidentally, you now use the northerner to neutralize or kind of bring them together. So I think that it all started from the Civil War, where they said Awolowo said, okay, if you deny the Igbo man food, you conquer him easily. And you remember he was a minister then. And
that was a strategy during the war.
Exactly. Then if you also remember the pre-independence election, where Nnamdi Azikiwe won. He was in Lagos, you know. But the Awolowo, who was from that place, was defeated by an Igbo man. Now, that was Nigeria being tested, so to speak. In other words, it never mattered where you came from. But it became an issue of, oh, I am a son of I'm an indigene here. How can a foreigner, in quote, come to Lagos and defeat me? So there were these threats, and you could see the Yorubas crossing over, leaving Zik, and they went to Action Group, and Zik formed opposition. And from there, he decided to move to the eastern part of Nigeria. So that kind of brought some regionalistic kind of, if I put it that way, of politics in Nigeria. When political parties were formed, you could see the big ones. You have one in the east, NCNC. Then you have Southwest. You had Action Group. Then you come to the north. You had NPC, you know. And so somewhere along the line, little parties were also created, like Northern Progressive Elements, NPC, NEPU. Then you also had the Middle Belt led by Joseph Taka. So it was an attempt to still see if this overbearing of single political parties in region could be broken, a kind of, you know. So you could see also Zik forming alliance with Ibrahim in Borno during the Second Republic, and they had this Nigerian People's Party. When they broke out, then Ibrahim formed the Great Nigerian People's Party, so to speak. But you could see there was an alliance between the Igbo and the Incidentally, Chinua Achebe, Ajolochukwu, and others, they formed alliance with Aminu Kano. So it was a kind of a thing that Nigeria was just real Nigeria. But today we are talking of, oh, I belong to the South. The South I belong. I belong to the North, you know. And that's why there used to be this Director General of the Voice of Nigeria looking at Ogun State politics. He just said, oh, it was always between the Egbas and the Ijebus, Ijebode. And so He said when there was, he likened it to table tennis playing or lawn tennis. You stay at the edge and serve. If you make wrong service, then the net traps it. So he said there was wrong service. Then the year was the Otumba Daniel, Wenger Daniel got it. And that was how
they took advantage.
They got it. If not, it wouldn't have gone around. In other words, you can copy paste this thing in many other places. The middle belt of Nigeria, when would they ever produce a president? If we therefore we believe in too much of religion, too much of sectionalism, it therefore follows that it should go around. And that's why some people thought that by having geopolitical zones, south, then you produce a president there. When it ends, southeast comes in. Okay, he has finished his northeast takes over, southwest takes over, then central Nigeria, you know. But again, it is still boiling down to this table tennis scenario. The south will serve to the north, then Hausa Fulani will take. When they are done, they send it south, then Yoruba will pick. So what about those in between? They are always being jumped, you know. So June 12 would have corrected many of these things.
Right.
Today we call it an evolution. But this metamorphosis is rather bringing in more of, let me call it some disaffection within Nigerians.
It's quite sad. I know Priscilla has a question to ask.
It's listening to you. I mean, it cannot take me down the memory lane because I was obviously was not there. But I mean, it brings a lot of understanding to our history, and it helps me make sense of where we are. I see that all of this did not start today. The tribalism, the sectionalism, and all of that, and it started long ago, right? You can actually trace the point where it started. But again, you recorded, or you have clearly said that the June 12 elections in 1993 was one that is worth emulating. But up till date, I don't think we have even learnt any lessons from it. What are those elements that we can pick? Because if we say we want to learn it to 2026, I don't even know how feasible it is.
Right.
If we had not learnt it, if the generation that were still existing at that point, that witnessed it, cannot look back and say, I liked this. Is it now the generation that is not even aware, or somehow with history being taken away from our educational system, at some point there seems to be a very wide gap, a big disconnect. But it's good that we still have some of you, still existing today. What are those elements that we can handpick and say, if we can pick this, and use it in today's, democracy, it will work for us?
Yeah, you see, let me also talk about the generational gaps.
Right.
And when you have that generational gap, you also have gaps in knowledge. Why was history at a point discarded in Nigeria? Today we are struggling. Those days you must know all the state governors, know their capitals and all that stuff. And I don't know, the three of us seated in this studio, whether conveniently we can even name ministers serving currently in Nigeria. Let's start with state and capital. So when you begin when they say, okay, even name the ministries in Nigeria, then they are ministers. You just see that, look, you go blank. And so that gap of knowledge is also there. Look at when Buhari decided, okay, let's make a Lagos University to MKO Abiola University. The Gen Z, who was that, or who is Abiola? That kind of a thing. Okay, today they say, let's have University of Abuja, turn it to Gowon University. Now, who is Gowon now? I don't know this man. So there is that gap. I don't blame them, but you see, when I was also young, I remember we had George Ini, a governor then. We also had Obasanjo, who was military head of state. Around 1976, I was in Form 1 that time. They came to my school, in the secondary I attended. Then it was in Kwara State, now Abdulaziz Atta Memorial College. These people would tell, oh, you are leaders of tomorrow. these people still occupy my tomorrow. I've retired from service. My children are there. Their children, my children's children are on ground. Some of those people, it's not yet their turn, so to speak. But talking, even when they said, okay, there is now not too young to run. There's a law. Look, the younger generation, you have the population, but unity is not in them. But you don't blame them. They are always, what do you call social media. How I can see that somebody called them social media bandits. It's a bad term, but I think that they do their job mostly on social media. But they should have cohesion as per having some leaders to lead them in terms of positive revolution, and they will make it. And so then this acquisition, quick acquisition, need to just grab what does not belong to you. It's more of today than those days. Because, when I was State House correspondent in Dodan Barracks, the billionaire states that time that would go to defend budget before Abacha were Kano, Lagos, and Port Harcourt. And their budget was around 1 billion. 1 billion. 1 billion. So they were the ones called a billionaire states. Others were battling with either 400 million, 500 million, 600 million. That was for a whole state. Right. You could see that corruption wasn't there. But today, so there are things that are actually missing out, and or Nigerians are missing it. So there has to be that point of convergence. If we have the older population that is rich, that has the experience, they should be doing some of the mentoring thing. Who are you mentoring? Who, because of this lack of history, current affairs, who do you wake up to say, okay, this is the person I want to be like? Okay, even in journalism, for example, in broadcasting, who do you remember as a mentor? Who do you want to be like? A kind of. So, but therefore, too many of these gaps exist. And of course, when you're talking about employment, I do know that all my employments, I never, ever went to lobby anybody. And is it a university system? You apply, you get your admission via the post office. Right. But today, things have gone so early to the extent that there has to be some lobbying. You have the best of the best result, but that university is not picking you. Then today, you have been celebrated as our time, by the way. You could see that maybe the whole university can produce 1, 2, or 3 first class graduates. But today, every course must produce first class. So, but let's ask ourselves, where are the jobs? When we were in secondary school, I still go back. Ajaokuta steel rolling mill was just coming on board. The staff that were in charge, the foreigners, were mostly from the Russian USSR, as the Soviet Union at that time. So when that thing was Balkanized, then they became republics. Some of the engineers went to present-day Ukraine, some went to Lithuania, some went to Latvia, And so who are you now bringing here? That was a problem. Then you could see the divide and rule. Why was it that America didn't get this project? And so they brought in their own policy. So why don't we have some of these steel rolling mills? You had Oshogbo, you had Katrina, and Laja. It was a kind of to still divide our attention, and they did. So where are the steel rolling mills? You don't find them. Where's the Ajaokuta complex? Where is it working? It's just not there. At a point, it's been sold out, or sold to Indians. Oh, the Indians came. Okay, since they bought it, they decided to remove many vital elements, and off they took them away. Such a bad thing. I remember also going to school via the railways. It was a pleasure for me holding a map of Nigeria. Each time we reach this station, I tick. And I mean, such a nice thing, nice adventure. Schooling was nice that time. But today, you've made it everything day school, and if you have one geography teacher, then you should teach chemistry, physics, maths, and all that. You know.
Well, I think there's a lot to talk about this. Quite frankly, I mean, the historical perspective is not only beautiful, but it's inspiring and very thought-provoking at the same time. We understand that political correspondent Ubong Osiro is on the street this morning covering a demonstration. Do we have Ubong already joining us on the program this morning? If we have Ubong, let's get him on so he can give us a pause of what's going on at his end. Once we're able to establish connection with him, we'll get him right on the screen for you so he can give us some insight into what's happening. We understand that Omoyele Sowore, the presidential candidate of the AAC, is leading a protest on this June 12th Democracy Day. Ubong hopefully will be able to shed light on what exactly the objective is. But let's get back to you, Ben. It's getting more interesting by the day, even though time is kind of limited. But let's now talk about the lessons. I mean, those who have covered this election in 1993, some of them the president mentioned this morning, not just those who covered from the standpoint of being journalists like you have been for decades, but those who also contributed, civil society practitioners, those who were pro-democracy activists and all of that. These people paid a lot of price. Some of them even died in the course of the struggle. We know about Nadeko, for example, home and abroad, the Kudirat radio, and what have you. The president is a product of the June 12 story, on some level. Do you think what we have today as democracy is below what we should have had on account of the sacrifices Nigerians have made?
Honestly, I think that our democracy, they keep saying nascent democracy, new democracy, we are still growing a kind of. And kudos to those who have been recognized, so to speak. But I still see that there are quite a lot of others that have been left out. Kudos to my friend Jide Otutoju. We were in the same Form 1, Form 2 with him. Not until his father left the school and he followed the father. But I still know that many of us took this same tear gas, like many of them. I remember Chuma Ubani in Ibadan when they went for a convention and even had some crisis there. Beko Ransom Kuti and all that. These were people who were meeting in the streets and interviewing. At a point, I returned to base, that was in Ikoyi. I was told that I was needed in Dodan Barracks. They were asking whether I had committed. During Abacha, what was going? I went in there. Suddenly I realized I was to do the undemocratic thing. I was to record Abacha's coup against Shoneko. You know, so that was an aberration in terms of a democracy. And in terms of when Abacha finished the last paragraph, he said, any attempt to test our will will be met with force. Check that last paragraph. You know, so that brought in the Nadeko people felt okay, the Wole Soyinkas, they just felt okay, we all have to march to these streets and claim back.
Let the worst happen.
Exactly. And that is why today we are celebrating democracy. But I think that there ought to be more of the ingredients of democracy. What we are seeing today, this thing you call consensus candidate, is spoiling democracy.
I want us to talk about contemporary democracy as it stands today, but let's get Ubong on real quick at this point. Ubong, good morning. So good to have you join us on these special broadcasts here in the studio. We understand you are on the streets following through with the demonstration. We understand so far it's been led by Omoyele Sowore, the publisher of Sahara newspaper, who also doubles as the presidential candidate of the AAC. In 1 minute, tell us exactly what this is about.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Go ahead.
We can hear you.
All right, so absolutely. Now Omoyele Sowore is giving a speech on why the march is necessary at this time. And just behind me, I'll just turn so you can see the crowd of people that are here to attend and join in the protest of today. So I'll just show you around what is going on. Lots of persons protesting. And already giving a speech now. You can see why protest becomes necessary at this time, and why they're backing on the process. This is where we are gathering, and from here they will be proceeding to various locations to make their demands known.
Well, pretty much organized. It doesn't look like there's any rowdiness. But what do you foresee the last maybe 1 hour or so that you've been on the ground? What do you think might happen the next couple of hours?
I think that we may have more persons who will come out to join the protest, which is also one of the things that they've said, that maybe having more persons come out to join the protest. That's on one end, and because they've actually called on more persons to come out, and those who are not able to join. But I want to bring somebody in. I spoke to somebody before, so he could also speak, because his group is also part of those who are protesting now. So I'll just bring him out to get to hear his side of the conversation and what he thinks about the protest. All right. Okay, so I have him here. Let's get to know you.
My name is Comrade Dennis.
All right, so Comrade Dennis, tell us why you are protesting.
We are here today in the name of our organization. We are deeply concerned about the situation of the country, insecurity, and you know now, recently, children, just they are adopted. So painful. Up to now, our government has not done anything. Rescue them, bring them back safe. On behalf of the Federation of Informal Workers Organization of Nigeria, we are here. So thank you.
You have to interrupt the sense from what you said earlier. The audio is very audible. But hopefully we're able to cycle back to you in the course of our broadcast today. Thank you so very much, political correspondent Uba Ngusoro. Let's get back to Ben, who was talking about contemporary democracy.
Like I said,
just I mean, when you look at democracy today, you were talking about this issue of endorsements within political parties. Who do we blame? Is it the Electoral Act or the actors?
Yeah, you see, man makes the law.
Right.
And when the law is injurious to man, you amend it.
Right.
And that's why continuously the Nigerian constitution is being tinkered with. That's why you said 1999 Nigerian constitution as amended, right. So to speak. So talking of contemporary issues, we're also fortunate that we have a very vibrant media. Those days, we simply had, in broadcasting, you had at the federal level, NTA, Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria and Voice of Nigeria for external service. You know, there was that monopoly. State governments, however, had theirs. There was never a single one. Not until much later that Babangida approved that Ray Power, the radio, should come on board. Thereafter, I mean, outside that, except for the newspapers. And again, it followed that in the southern part of Nigeria, it was all about reading reading and reading. So newspapers and magazines were vibrating so much.
Flourished.
Yes, but when it comes to North, theirs is to listen. Radio. Answer our radio. Is it on radio? Did you hear it on radio? I mean, it was the Bible kind of a truth. But today we have so many of them, courtesy of contemporary democracy. You know, and many guys, including what is now known as the citizen journalism. As you can see, this protest that is going on is being covered by the same protesters.
Right.
If there's any policeman trying to be funny, they are busy filming him directly and live. You know, then I would say also kudos to organizers of strikes or riots or protests in Nigeria. It's not like what is happening in South Africa. South Africa must always go out with some machetes. They go there with sticks, clubs, and all that stuff.
Right.
I have my own experience when I was in South Africa, because a Voice of Nigeria at that time had what we call exchange program.
Yes.
Someone left South Africa, Karabo, came and sat on my seat here in our Voice of Nigeria, Abuja. I went to Johannesburg, took over her own seat. You know, what experience I experienced here is for a different program altogether. You know, so I would just say that in terms of protest, the Nigerian protest is always very, very civil. And let me also add that this issue of we shall meet in court, just that it's also been misinterpreted so much to the extent that some people are questioning the integrity of the judiciary. We had this Kaplagat from Kenya, a human rights activist, who was also a government official. He was assessing Nigerian democracy and elections. He said he likes one thing about Nigeria. When you are feeling cheated, you rush to the court. He said in Kenya, when you feel cheated, he said we'll meet in the street. And you look at
that's violence.
You know, that's violence. So in terms of democracy, we are getting it maybe as per sanctity of human lives.
Right.
Yes, we respect human lives. We like enjoyment. You know, we love fraternizing. But again, insecurity has come to tell us that we are not getting it right. Because democracy cannot strive where there is insecurity. Even employment, yes, you want to create industries. Look at your railway system. You've seen people from Europe, France, Great Britain, right, America, come in and say they have interest in the rail system. But the Chinese have taken over. Why is it so? Chinese can invest in a hostile and unpredictable environment. Right. So even if you kidnap the Chinese, they'll always be there. Look at those doing illegal mining and legal mining. The Chinese are always there. So where are the Britons? Where are the Britons? Where are the Americans in all of that? If it is oil sector, okay, they can stay there far off in the oceans, because the masses will not be in the ocean, get it there and make their money, so to speak. So these are all ingredients of democracy, but we need proper coordination at the point. You could see that some people are saying, oh, there's too much of employment skewed to one side, you know, but some people say, oh, it's currently skewed to one side, Abby. It's a reply to what happened before now. In other words, it's still the same service of Lontanese issue. When it is southerner, you just get your southern friends and put them there. When it goes to the north, it also applies to many of the states, you know, because, okay, look at in areas of Plateau, there are some areas that want to be governors. They would not have. Right. Okay, go to Benue. When would the Igedes produce governor? Go to the same Benue. When would the Idomas produce a governor? You know, you go to Cross River, it's the same thing. And so people always feel there's this marginalization. And if you look at all the senatorial zones in every state, at the point, look, even River State, for example, the Equatorians are feeling, look, we need to be there. The Ijos, as in we are a population to be reckoned with. So where is our position in the scheme of things? Right. You know, that kind of. So these are things that we ought to. If we are simply saying we're going for the best, but how do you take care of those who are not the best, but they need to survive.
Yes.
And so if you say, okay, all the best are coming from one tribe, the Gbagi people, for example, it follows that over 400 tribes will also be left. And that's why this federal character commission is there. You look at, you want to make some employments, okay, let us look at your nominal role. Let's see those from Ogun State. Compare them with that of Sokoto. Compare that with Sokoto, Kebbi State. Compare them with Ogun State. You begin to see, oh, look, you already have 500 people. Yeah. This state has 2. So it should go to no, they are not qualified. You cannot. What statistics did you use to just sit down here and say they are not qualified? Exactly. And so there's always room for the best at the top, any moment, given the opportunity, you know. And so many things are still, we need an inclusive kind of democracy that Nigerians are yearning for. I yearn for it. I belong for it. I'm a Democrat, but I am not a card-carrying
member of a political party.
Of any party. That is why I can talk here, without necessarily leaning this way, leaning that way, or aligning. So that everyone is my friend.
I think Priscilla wants to follow up the question.
But I wanted to ask, given the analysis you've given on our protests right now, we also had protests back then in the days. How would you compare response from the government, compare, to what we had then and what we have now, which has yielded more results?
Yeah, you see, the protest of those days is still being controlled by the side of the police, side of government by the police. You see, when the colonial people had the police, they used them to suppress the blacks. The colonial people gave us independence. The police took over, then they started looking for the common enemy. Okay, let's look for the protesters. And of course, the Nigerians became the victim. And that's why, if I compare the two periods, I think over there at that time, yes, you could see that the maximum use of force sometimes is not like what we are seeing today. When you see people, you see police beating and beating and beating. You bundle, you carry them through, you detain. A governor coming to, those days you never hear of a governor who is detaining anybody. I remember Ben Ayad, the governor of Cross River State, himself and Agba Jalingo. These are cousins, but because he wrote so carry him. Look at Stephen Kefas in Kaduna State. Look at Binyat. These were people El-Rufai, just because you don't like them, you carry and just throw them into some dungeon and forget about them. Quite a lot of other people suffered that kind of a thing. Now that we have, as we are talking, House of Reps has kind of passed the bill. The Senate will do some concurrent kind of look at it and also concur, and they pass it. The fear still remains. State police, all the 36 states, you now have a police force. Then Abuja. How will you use them? With the governor who is so powerful. He's so powerful to the extent that he determines who becomes a minister. He's so powerful to the extent that he has the state security votes. He does whatever he likes with it. Now you have a force funded by the state government. So how will you deploy? When you say that place does not like you, that community does not like you, will you use that state force to suppress the people, suppress the journalists? So quite a lot of things that are coming on board. So, well, I think, however, we are reaching somewhere. We are not yet there.
Okay.
It's a journey. It's a journey that is that has some potholes, right, or some stumbling block. We shall overcome. We jump past. scatter, jump past, scatter, and we'll reach our destination, surely.
Okay, so that's what we look forward to. At this point, I would like to say a big thank you to Ben Sherman for coming to share all of these experiences dating back to more than 3 decades. And we do not take it for granted.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Amazing. We'll continue our special coverage of this Democracy Day, June 12th, here on Global Television. Just a while ago, we had the opportunity of having a sit-down with the son of the late MKO Abiola and Lahaja Kudirat Abiola, who also is in the government of President Bola Tinubu as senior special assistant on linguistics and foreign matters, and he shared his side of the story with us. Just also mentioned that more than a decade ago, he had written a book about the man who never became president. We'll bring you all of that shortly here on the program. Please keep it here on Global Television.
Global Television celebrates with Nigerians more than a system of government. The power of the people's voice, the courage of those who fought for freedom, and the enduring hope of a nation united in purpose. As we mark this Democracy Day, let us reaffirm our commitment to the values that strengthen our nation: unity, participation, tolerance, and the respect for the rule of law. Stand with democracy, stand with progress, stand for Nigeria. Global Television wishes all Nigerians a happy Democracy Day.
Democracy is universally acknowledged as the best form of government. In Nigeria, the struggle to return the country to democratic rule was both demanding and historic. A nation with more than 200 million population and numerous ethnic groups is not a stranger to military regimes, with the last one spanning into the early 1990s. In the days of the military, Nigeria suffered setbacks in economic development, sanctions that robbed the country of what could have been its diplomatic advancements. It was therefore understandable for citizens to heave a sigh of relief and see a ray of hope when the military regime of Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida announced a transition to civil rule in 1992 and elections scheduled for 1993. However, socio-political events soon spiraled out of control, with uncertainty casting a shadow over the nation. June 12, 1993 will forever remain historic in Nigeria due to an annulled presidential election in the country, widely regarded as the freest and fairest
in Nigeria's history. It pitted Moshood Kashimawo Olawale, popularly called MKO Abiola of the Social Democratic Party SDP, against Bashir Tofa of the National Republican Convention NRC. The election was a watershed moment in Nigerian history because it largely transcended regional, ethnic, and religious lines. Chief MKO Abiola ran on a Muslim ticket with his running mates Babagana Kingibe. Nigerians turned out en masse, voting freely for their candidate of choice without the usual religious or tribal allegiances. However, the outcome shocked the entire country and indeed the world.
I'm pleased to take this opportunity to declare once again, therefore, that this administration attaches the greatest importance to constructive and helpful criticisms as well as the freedom of the press, and to declare further that the administration also attaches the greatest importance of fundamental human rights.
The annulment triggered severe political unrests, protests, and a constitutional crisis as MKO Abiola proclaimed himself the lawful president and commander-in-chief on June 11, 1994.
Nigerians are ready for democracy. Nigeria have elected their president, and Nigerians are not prepared to go for another election.
Chief MKO Abiola was subsequently arrested in 1994 and later died in detention in 1998. The crisis and chaos that followed the annulment eventually forced General Babangida to step aside, culminating in General Sani Abacha taking power in November 1993.
Consequently, the following decisions come into immediate effect. The interim national government is hereby dissolved. The national and state assemblies are also dissolved. The state executive councils are dissolved. The brigade commanders are to take over from the governors in their states until administrators are appointed. Where there are no brigade commanders, the commissioners of police in the states are to take over. All local governments stand dissolved. The directors of personnel are to take over the administration of the local governments until administrators are appointed. The National Electoral Commission is hereby dissolved. All former secretaries to federal ministries are to hand over to their director generals until ministers are appointed. The two political parties are hereby dissolved. All processions, political meetings and associations of any type in any part of the country are hereby banned. Any consultative committee, by whatever name called, is hereby.
One of the men at the center of it all was Humphrey Owonsu. He chaired the National Electoral Commission, today known as the Independent National Electoral Commission. He sheds light.
June 16, 1993. Remember, we were promised that if that election was conducted to be free and fair, accepted by international observers and local observers, that we would be given national honors. So my colleagues were also working hard as Nigerians. So when, according to our effort, you knew all the problems, all the restrictions, in spite of all that, June 12 came. The election was conducted, it was peaceful, materials were distributed all over Nigeria, promptly in all difficult terrain because of arrangement and logistic preparation we put in place. So when the results started coming in, June 13, 14, In fact, it was to be concluded around June 17, 18. The other party, NRC, had even congratulated SDP for winning. Suddenly, there was a letter served on me by Commissioner of Police that we should cease forthwith.
Due to its importance to the nation's democratic journey, the Nigerian government officially recognized June 12 as the country's Democracy Day, replacing May 29, a decision that has been officially celebrated since 2018. 33 years after, that singular but radical decision has shaped Nigeria's democratic trajectory till date and further down the line. Respite came when General Abdusalami Abubakar told the nation that Nigeria would transition into democracy in 1999, a pivotal moment that heralded a new political dawn for the nation. Olusegun Obasanjo, a man who contributed decades of his life to Nigeria's political leadership history, was sworn into office on 29 May 1999.
I accept this destiny in all humility and with the full belief that with the backing and support of our people, we shall not fail.
Continues to grapple with the task of strengthening democratic institutions as well as delivering its dividends to citizens. On this special day of our June 12 coverage, Global Television is wishing all of our viewers across the world a happy Democracy Day.